Hi, Jon Stein. How are you?
Good. How are you, Lauren?
Nice to see you. So I'm Lauren Young. I'm the money manager, money editor, wealth editor, personal finance editor at Reuters, and I'm so excited. I've known Jon for a long time, and since the beginning, I think. And we're going to talk today about some of the new things that are happening at Betterment, specifically around health savings accounts, which I think you have news out today. And I'm really interested to know why you're getting into that space. If you can explain a little bit about HSAs to this crowd. I'm sure they know a little bit, but tell them why they're good.
How many people in the audience know what Betterment is? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, everyone, great. So we won't start there.
They could be lying.
How many of you have an HSA option at work? Most. How many use it? Keep your hand up if you use it. A lot of you, maybe 20, 25%. How many are carrying a balance in there of over $5,000? Okay, most of those. So that's great. If you have one, it's a great account. There's research out from United Healthcare, the biggest healthcare company in America, that says that of those who have money in an HSA, only about a third understand the difference between an HSA and an FSA. HSA is a health savings account, not a flex spending account. An HSA doesn't go away. You can contribute $3,500 a year to it, and you can accumulate that over time. The advantage of this account is that it is triple tax advantage. It is the most tax advantaged account available to you. Like an IRA, you don't pay tax on the way in. Like a Roth IRA, you don't pay tax on the way out. Like a 401k, you never pay tax on money in there, on your earnings. So it is, for many people, the first place you should be saving. And if you have one,
the reason why is because, particularly, it's a great savings tool for retirement.
It's a great savings tool for
retirement. And people don't realize that in literally the last few years of your life, you spend more on healthcare than you did in your entire life combined. So you can really juice it up and have money to spend. So why are you doing it?
Well, we've been looking at this space for years. It's a great account, but it was small. Now there are $50 billion in HSAs nationally, about 25 million HSA account holders. That's growing about 20% a year. So it's become big, and it's getting big fast. It's like the early days of the 401k. We've also looked at how should we approach this, we Betterment, who want to help employees with wellness. How do we reach out and do this? Should we just start offering an HSA? But these accounts are typically bought with a health insurer. Right? They're not typically bought from a separate third party. So we're excited to announce today that we are partnering with United Healthcare and Optum Bank, largest health insurer in the company, the 6th largest company by revenue in America, to offer the first simple, smart, automated HSA. So it's Betterment Smart Money Management for all of United Healthcare's HSA account holders. We will be their only smart money management offering. It's single sign-on, integrated right into your Optum HSA, United Healthcare HSA account. So easy, recommended by them. It'll be the low-cost, smart HSA solution in the market, and hopefully will bring HSAs to many more people. They already have something like 4 million HSA account holders, so awesome partner for us, great access to all of their customers. And the unique thing about our solution is we pair that HSA account with your IRAs, with your 401k. We're the only company in the world that manages across all of those accounts to tax coordinate the right things in the right accounts. And that kind of automation, the thing that Betterment does best, earns you 40% more cash in retirement versus DIY. That's net of all of our fees. So really excited about all of this. It's a huge announcement, huge partnership, huge milestone for us that this giant company said, hey, who's the best in the market at providing smart advice, and chose Betterment.
Great. Speaking about retirement, I'd like you to bring everybody up to speed on what's happening in the 401k space right now and how Betterment is positioned compared to some of the other companies that may be here today and the ones that we hear about on TV.
Yeah, when people ask me about, where's my head and, what are we seeing happening in the space? Well, I talked about these literally yesterday. I was at a panel yesterday, Morgan Stanley conference with Matt Harris and Amy Noikis, two venture capitalists who follow the space. We were talking about what are the big trends. One was, seems like lots of people are getting into banking, and there's so much happening around that. And two was, there are these interesting B2B type partnerships. And our big B2B play is the 401k. The way that we reach the most customers is through your 401k. That's a primary focus for me and for the company. It's something we are expanding a lot. We're working with over 500 employers now, companies like Casper, Box, Bird, Compass, like big employers who are looking to provide a really leading company benefit to savvy employees who demand the best, and that's where we play in. And the reason they choose us is because we provide a modern, customer-centric experience around this old-fashioned, antiquated employee benefit, which is the 401k. We've modernized it. We have personalized advice for every participant, a delightful web experience. It's all your goals together. So it's what people like you in this room want out of a 401k.
I'm curious, Jon, do people check their balances more here, or do they do it at their computer at work?
Way more on their mobile phones. So something like 75% of our logins are mobile, including for the 401k.
Great. And can you talk a little bit about the investment options themselves and how Betterment has revolutionized that particular space?
One of the most important things about a 401k is to have it be low cost, right? And a lot of the costs are hidden in your 401k. And there's an agency problem in most 401ks because you, the employee, are probably not choosing the 401k provider. The CFO or the head of HR or sometimes the CEO in a smaller company is choosing that 401k plan. And their objective is, yes, to have something good for employees, but also somebody saying, and keep it low cost for us. And so low cost for the company oftentimes means higher cost for you, the employee. They bury costs in the funds. They bury costs in hidden ways that the company doesn't have to worry about, but you bear as an employee. And so one of the innovations that we've made is we reduce all of those costs, we make them very transparent, and we make no money off of, say, the funds that you invest in. We don't try and pitch your own funds or make more off of certain recommendations. We're objective, we're an advisor, we are a fiduciary aligned with the employees of the company and trying to get to the best retirement outcomes. And that's by far the most important thing when you're looking to choose a great 401k.
Are you a cheapskate in real life?
So cheap. I mean, my team, if you ask any of them and say, like, what's Jon's favorite word, they would probably say efficiency. It's the thing. I closed up the office last night, which I don't often do anymore. I used to a lot, but I was working late. I'm going out of town next week, so I'm like finishing up stuff. And I was the guy going around just shutting off all the lights, making sure that it's all locked up. I'm still very much about efficiency.
Awesome. Talk a little bit about competitors. I know some of them are here at this conference, but just in general, the landscape has changed a lot since you guys launched, and I'm curious what you think about how you set yourself apart from your competitors.
We've seen so much change in the space. So when we launched in 2010, there was no, fintech. This conference definitely didn't exist. The word fintech wasn't in use. And there was no robo-advisor. That word wasn't a thing.
I thought you didn't like the word robo-advisor. I've been told I'm not supposed to use that with you.
I mean, all of these things came about after. And in 2010, people were saying, don't start a financial services company. This is an awful idea. Have you seen what's happening? Everyone's losing their jobs in financial services. I don't think we knew then just how big it would be. We were hopeful that we were going to change the way everyone invests. And they asked me on stage, how do you think about competition? This is when we launched almost 9.5 years ago. And I said, if we're successful, we're going to have lots of competition. And that still will be the case, right? I hope this is a competitive market. I hope so for consumers. And the competition that is out there for Betterment has driven us to be better. It has made us better at our game. We've learned things from them. I look at it in different buckets. I mean, there's a lot of niche players like playing different parts. There's the big incumbents. And I think the big incumbents are trying to kind of put together a portfolio option and just hope that sort of retains customers so they don't come to people like us. But really what's happening is a whole new generation of savers and investors is not going to these incumbents. They're coming to Betterment instead. And that trend is not slowing down, it's accelerating. Over time, we're seeing more and more customers each year coming to us at lower acquisition costs each year. As we broaden our services from our original core and just basic taxable account investing to HSAs and 401ks and IRAs, and increasingly with, say, our Smart Saver that we launched earlier this year and our cash analysis that looks at your checking account, increasingly into your everyday transactional activities. I think that these bigger incumbents have more and more to worry about.
Do you snoop around on the competition a lot? Are you testing out their platforms and playing with their mobile apps? I'm so curious. What would you deign to say if you think anybody does technology well?
So I think actually a lot of the banks are getting better, right? Many of them, particularly the large ones, right? We're talking about like 4 or 5 players that have the budgets to invest in technology. And they are getting all of the bank accounts today, right? Something like 80% of the bank accounts opened in the last 5 years were opened by the top 5 banks who control about 40% of the national branches. That means consolidation in the top few banks. And I think one of the questions for regulators and consumers in this country is, do you want this to be a system like Canada or Australia where there are literally like 4 or 5 banks and community banks go away because that's the direction that we're headed in? Or do you want there to be more competition, more choice? I believe more competition is good, and it's been one of the nice things about the American system. So we are trying to provide that option that really challenges these big institutions.
All right, so the conference is the Future Fintech, and the hashtag is Future Fintech if you're tweeting. If you look into this beautiful crystal ball that has these beautiful flowers in it, what do you see for the future of Fintech and also for Betterment?
Wow, so I've been talking about the self-driving wallet for some number of years, and it seems closer to me every day as we add more different account types and services to what we do.
Describe it a little bit.
So I can't. Everyone knows self-driving cars. They're not a thing yet, but probably sometime in our lifetime they'll be a thing. I certainly believe they will be. I don't know if it'll be 10 years from now or 20 years from now or when, but it's coming. And I can't imagine that in the future where you get into a self-driving car and it takes you automatically to your destination safely, securely, and swiftly, that on the route you're going to be thinking about, well, how much should I put in my Roth IRA versus my checking account just now? Like, these are like easy, automatable decisions that you ought to be automating already if you want to make the most of your money. I mean, I see several customers in the audience, and I hope the rest of you will be soon. We can make you more of your money, right? Like, we can help you make the most of it. And those kinds of services will integrate more and more. I think there's some utilities that you need to provide that, and we're seeing right now today more and more of these traditional bank services and investing services. There are back-end players who are building utilities for brains like Betterment's to aggregate and make better services available to consumers. So all of that's playing out very quickly right now. And that's, I guess, what a lot of this conference is about.
Where would you say are the deficiencies in your space, things that you really wish that you could be doing better, but you just don't have the technology yet to do it?
Well, there are some problems that are still just hard, like accessing your data across multiple product providers. If we didn't have this great partnership with Optum, how do we get access to your account and manage it? That is a challenging thing to do for a smart money manager like us without that kind of one-off partnership. I believe you ought to own all of your financial data. And the CFPB has it in their charter that they believe the same and that you ought to have access to that. And they can make rules around this. But if you're a big institution, You don't necessarily want your customers to have access and rights to all of their data. You don't necessarily want other apps coming and writing into your services because it disintermediates the big institution who controls all the customer accounts.
Disintermediates is one of the worst words ever in the history
Thank
of
you,
the universe.
yes.
Sorry.
I agree. Bank consulting days, I guess, I have that. And mystery shopping is what we used to call spying on the competitors. Mystery shopping, another silly word. Disintermediation.
Sorry, I interrupted you, but you were saying that being able to track all that stuff is challenging. So.
Yeah, and it oughtn't be, right? Like you ought to have access to all of that data. It ought to be easy to find an aggregation provider who's just going to give you smart recommendations on your money. There ought to be a standard API for understanding your money. There's a lot of things that ought to be. I think healthcare records, that belong to you ought to be easier to move from one doctor to another and to understand yourself. There are moves coming in this direction. Lauren and I were just chatting backstage briefly before coming out about the Form CRS that the SEC is going to start requiring next year, just announced last week. That's an interesting move in better understanding your provider. But we need a lot more things like that to provide really next generation great financial advice to every American.
And just in the privacy space itself, obviously we're all concerned about privacy, and here you are, the stewards of people's biggest financial nest egg, probably aside from their home. What changes do you see coming down the pike, and is there anything that you particularly worry about in this moment, given all the hacking and craziness that's going on in the world?
I think, and our team thinks a lot about privacy and data security. I wish that the sort of public outcry that there is around data privacy and what's happening to your data, which I believe is well justified. I wish that kind of public outrage were just as acute when it comes to what's happening with your money. All of us in this room, most likely, just looking around at the audience, have some kind of savings account, or checking account with some bank, and I would imagine that very few of us are actually getting a fair share of the earnings being made on that money. There's just, I think, the big secret in banking, and I was a bank consultant for years, is that most of the profits come on the backs of retail checking and savings accounts. That's where most of the money is. Fees and balances and just not giving you what you deserve. I think that's going to change.
All right, we're coming toward the end of this, but I don't want to not ask you this question because I heard you opened up an office in Philly, which is my hometown, and I think you went. Did you go to school in Philly too?
I didn't, but love Philly.
It's a great town. It's
a
city of brotherly love and sisterly. So what's going on there? Why Philly?
Philly is, it's easy to get to. It's the fifth borough, or sixth borough, right?
Does anyone
sorry for those
in
the fifth borough, whatever that one is.
I got a Philly guy, right?
We've been looking for a while at expansion. We have employees remote. We've got an employee in Austin. We've got employees in Denver. We've got an employee in Kansas City, all over. But it's been sort of ad hoc, and we wanted to find a place where we could experiment with more of a central office. And Philly's this kind of underutilized spot. It's I think underappreciated. It's a great downtown. It's a great city. We've got an office right there near the train station. We've hired, I think, 16 people there since January, and we're scaling that office. Very great talent, and so super excited about that. It's not, say, in a different time zone or in a very heavy tech city, which is one of the reasons it's interesting. Like Google doesn't have an office there, Facebook doesn't have an office there, so we're kind of like the big fish in Philly, and that's a great spot to be.
Betterment, Philly's big fish. If you have a cheesesteak blind taste test, I would love to come to that.
Oh, you got it. Yeah. We're going to have you over.
All right, so we only have less than a minute left, and I'm going to go to our overrated, underrated segment, the most popular thing here at the Future of Fintech.
I'm nervous about this.
I know. Fiduciary rule, overrated or underrated?
Fiduciary rule, well, non-existent now, so overrated. The Reg BI that just came out last week said advisors are not officially fiduciaries. Whatever you used to think, whoever used to have a fiduciary obligation, no more, according to the SEC. Not customer friendly, not part of what I believe their mission should be, but we're going to make the most of it and continue to provide fiduciary advice.
5G, overrated, underrated?
Underrated, going to be so cool.
Hudson Yards, what do you think about the vessel?
Way.
Overrated or underrated?
Way overrated, too far from everything.
Thank you, Jon Stein of Betterment. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lauren.
You can applaud.